Yes, guys, welcome to Chasing Green Arrows. We are back with a Friday night special. It's me, it's Big Man Backer, it's Mr. Dean Jones, and all of you lovely chasers. Hello to everyone watching. We're going to be reacting to press conference news. We're going to be showing our teams as well, with big decisions for all of us to make this game. As always, we'll be answering some questions along the way. Dean, we should start with the guy that's got the best rank in the room, Mr. Dean Jones, 47k. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah. Hello, everyone below me. Hello, everybody joining. Yeah, it's fun up here, but let's see how long it lasts. All right. This is a tricky game week. This is a really tricky game week. There's so many little conundrums. You're looking at the fixtures and you're trying to second guess stuff, and then you get the Haaland curveball thrown in there. Who knows, mate? Who knows how long this rank goes on? But I'll take it. 47k going into game week 4 is better than I would have anticipated at any other point. But what are we making then, lads, of this Haaland news? My take is that nothing changes. He stays in my team. He's keeping the armband. Are we all on that page, or because I've only obviously just been up for an hour or so, and I'm kind of on catch up with it, and I haven't really read the room on it. So, what's your takes?
Big man, what do you reckon?
Hi guys, hello Dean, hello Shani. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to overthink it. Apparently, he trained yesterday, so until we hear any concrete information, he's going to be my captain. I'm just going to select my vice captain a bit more. I'll give it a bit more thought than I usually do. But apart from that, yeah, Haaland. Nothing changes. I agree. Haaland's still going to be my captain, and I do think, as of now, with the information available, that he will play.
Yeah, I know last season we had a death in Haaland's family. It may have been his granddad. I don't want to get that wrong, but there was a death.
His grandma, yeah.
It was his grandma last. This was, I don't know, game week 20 to 35, somewhere in between there last season. And I remember there being speculation. Was it? Yeah, okay. Oh, Dean, you've only been up an hour, but you're well researched, mate.
I am a journalist. I remember these little bits.
So yeah, I mean, look, we weren't sure then, and there was some worry, but he played, and I guess with that, you could argue a precedent has been set. Whether it has or not, I don't know, because we don't know how close X and Y are to Haaland, and again the proximity of death to game. But you would assume, I am going to assume that Haaland plays, and if he doesn't, then do be alert. Depending on your time zone, if you're awake around deadlines, this is one we're going to get a leak on, because it's a 3:00 Man City kickoff, so we are going to know. And just have a plan in place, because if we find out late, don't be scrambling around with, oh, what do I do now? Have a plan for, if Haaland's injured, I'm going to make this transfer, or I'm going to push that wildcard button. And if Haaland's not injured, I'm going to do this. And of course, vice captaincy is so important. I did see Aston Villa Bozzy in the chat said something quite funny. Something like, he's going to get 4 goals. Of course, he's going to play and he's going to get 4 goals. Yeah. You're probably quite right, Aston Villa Bozzy. And Aston Villa Bozzy, do let me know your thoughts on Ollie Watkins. We'll talk about him later in the show as well. But to stick on Haaland, Dean, your take is kind of like me and Big Man, don't overcomplicate it. And at the moment, you're captain and you're planning for him to be around.
Yeah, I mean, my hunch is there's more likelihood of him scoring a hat-trick than not playing. Like, that's just how I read Haaland. He did play last time he was in a similar circumstance. Obviously, we can't actually read the situation properly. And this is obviously a real shock, bereavement situation that he's in. It's, you know, a guy that's very close to him. And I think he was 59, who's the guy that's died, who was so close, he feels like an uncle. So that's a really difficult situation for sure. But what do we know about Haaland? What have we seen of Haaland in the past is he is a mentality monster, and it's difficult when you're in that situation because the guy's not an actual robot. I know he seems like a robot, but he's not. And it could be that this has significantly affected him, but we've seen that he's been in training. Pep hasn't ruled him out. He's just kind of raised some doubts over whether he will be mentally and physically ready. Haaland's always going to be physically ready. So it's just a case of what's best for him mentally. And my hunch would be he takes it out on his opponents. Like, I don't remember exactly how he played on the back of a situation like this last time, but I'm pretty sure he scored. I don't remember the overall performance, but I'm pretty sure he had a bereavement before and he scored. So, look, we're all in the same boat here. Pretty much everybody's got Haaland. You don't really want to be taking a -4 at this point to replace him because the chances are he still plays. And so if he doesn't play, we're all in the same boat. And you just put your vice captaincy on Salah if you've got him.
Yeah, there are people out there that are captain Salah regardless because they go X point for a goal and we've not got that worry and blah blah blah. But big man, we spoke about this a bit on Wednesday. For us, like it's a very simple decision. If you go Haaland captain, we'll do a poll. Are you captaining Haaland this game week? Just a simple yes or no. Big man, I just want to get your take before we move on to more serious matters. Just explain to us about the sleeper draft game that you and I are playing because we've not spoken about this on Chasing Green Arrows, but I think it's worth noting because we're playing in an awesome draft game and Holly is live in the chat. You, by mistake, sold Gabriel and Holly picked him up on a free. That's how the draft works, right? He was your second pick in the draft, was Gabriel.
Yes, he was. So basically, I had the first pick in the draft. I got Haaland, obviously, but since there were so many other creators in the draft, the second pick of mine was the 20th pick. And by then, there were not many forwards or midfielders that I fancied picking, so I picked Gabriel. Long story short, very recently, my nephew was playing around my phone the other day, and he dropped Gabriel from my sleeper team. The rest of the team was fine, but Gabriel disappeared, right? And the next thing I find out is that he's been released as a free agent. And today I find out that Holly's actually picked him up. So yeah, there's a bit of drama going over there, but a spoiler alert, I've got him back. I've got my man back from Holly. So I'm hoping that he can sort of do me good in the times to come.
Brilliant. Dean, you're playing some draft this year as well, right? But not FPL.
No, that's NFL, mate, and I don't know what I'm talking about. So it sounds similar to his nephew there. I literally have no idea of what I'm doing. Just a quick shout out as well while we're on it to the people who you're noticing in the chat right now with little emojis and icons next to their names. Obviously, we do have the members scheme up and running now. We have the CGA Elite WhatsApp group up and running. Been chatting to a few people in there over the past couple of days. So look, the streams are carrying on as always. This stream is always going to be free. We're always going to chat to you all. We're taking your questions. Nothing's changing on that front. But we are stepping it up a notch in terms of the interaction, in terms of what you can get out of this channel and out of us. And so those membership schemes are now there. There's 2 tiers. Just have a look if you fancy it. Like a lot of you have been so loyal to us anyway, so we're not looking for anything particular. We love all of you. But if you fancy a bit more, then there is now a bit more to be picked up.
Oh, very well said, mate. And you're in the WhatsApp group here. Nice.
Yeah, I'm in there, mate. Yeah, I've been chatting to a few people this week. And I've got a few separate videos as well.
Yeah.
And one of them, I've got a little take on goalkeepers, which I think the picture's changed on goalkeepers now. I think you need to start going elite. I don't think you can be picking up the likes of Dean Henderson anymore. They are going to leave you lagging, in my personal opinion. A quick shout to TI, who is asking a question: bench Muniz or Emil Smith-Rowe? Subjective opinion. I know Dean doesn't like Muniz as a pick. Muniz is going to come good at some point, right? Like he will obviously score goals. He's the number 9, but there is Raul Jimenez there waiting. My hunch with Emil Smith-Rowe is he ends up moving out to the flank. I don't think he'll be competing for that same forward role as he's been having. Like now that Fulham have got Sanderberg in, he'll probably play alongside Sasa Lukic. He'll have Pereira at the top of the midfield. So Fulham's real dilemma is going to come in those wide positions. And this is quite relevant to a lot of things right now because you've got Adama Traore, who's been pretty much Fulham's most dangerous player in the early stages. And I think for this game week, Adama's a decent pick, especially as he wasn't involved in the internationals. But he's now got competition from Harry Wilson. He's got competition from Reece Nelson. And I think Emil Smith-Rowe ends up competing for one of the wide spots as well. So Fulham, really hard to nail down. At the moment, TI, all I can say is that Muniz is a guaranteed starter. I think Smith-Rowe is too, but I don't know exactly what the roles are going to be. So, yeah, Muniz got to get his first goal at some point, right? So if you've already got him, definitely, I'd say just stick with it for now. But yeah, just beware that Fulham have got a variety of options in those wide positions, and I think it's going to become trickier to predict that starting lineup.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
By the way, Mark's laughing here. Competition from Harry Wilson. Harry Wilson in the internationals scored an absolute banger. If you've not seen Harry Wilson's goal in the midweek, go and have a look at Harry Wilson's goal. He will be knocking on that door. I understand what you're saying. Like, Harry Wilson is a very flaky player. He's a bit of an enigma, but when he's good,
he will always
very,
score
very
bangers,
good.
won't he? He will always score bangers. That's what he does.
Yeah, that's what he does. I was just gonna say that he always tends to score goals that you remember. I don't at least recall him scoring an easy goal. He always tends to score from outside the box or from a free kick, goals of that sort.
And every time I give up on the guy, every time I give up on him, he seems to bounce back. So I could never write off this guy.
There we go, guys. We will address some of the big issues or headlines, I guess, from press conferences. Big man, give us a couple of the headlines from today. I know you'd have been across it. I've seen obviously the Ollie Watkins news that he's available and will be in the squad. So he's going to, I think, start, but there's no guarantee there. Cole Palmer has been pictured in training, wasn't asked about him. And another one, I think Konza's availability has absolutely been confirmed as well. So any other sort of big news stories there, big man?
Yeah, City and Villa were the big ones. We've already spoken about City. Foden is available. I guess that's something that that we might be considering soon. But yeah, Aston Villa was the big one. Ollie Watkins was the big one for you because the difference between you and the wildcard button was basically Ollie Watkins' availability, if I'm not mistaken, right? And because we've heard positive news on him, I can see that you're buzzing and you're sort of delighted that you don't have to wildcard, right? I can see you blushing, Gianni.
So happy.
So Konza should be available as well. Obviously, no guarantee that both of them start, but with the information available right now, I think it would be a logical assumption to make that both will probably make the Aston Villa starting 11. I mean that's about it. So basically, not much has changed from the break. João Pedro wasn't exactly mentioned, so we assume he should be good to go as well from his travels. And I guess what you do is keep an eye out on early team leagues tomorrow in case Haaland was to miss out, which seems unlikely, but it's better to be safe than sorry. So yeah, that's the only thing that sort of left to address before.
So lads, what happens if Haaland isn't playing? If you find that out in the hour before, what's the backup? What are we doing? Like, where do you go? I'm going to miss it because I'm going to be asleep. So I'm kind of stuck here.
I think if that was to happen, I have 2 free transfers. I'm going to sell Haaland, and I'm going to buy a striker, and I'm going to upgrade some of my midfielder to Salah, so that I can get Salah for the captaincy. And then it would essentially lock me into wildcarding in 6 because then I won't have Haaland for the Arsenal fixture as well. So yeah, that's what I would do. I don't think there's a scenario where Haaland plays and gets taken off early. So either he plays 90 or either he gets taken off early is what I'm thinking. So it's important to have the vice captaincy, correct? That's what I would suggest, Dean, especially if you're missing any leagues. I have Eze as my vice. What are you guys on?
I mean, I own Salah, so it's an easy one, and Dean owns Salah too. So I guess we're both going to get Salah vice.
Yeah, if I get Salah, which could happen after the stream, then I'll be on Salah as well.
Is the Haaland replacement, if you went there for a striker, who have you looked at? Ollie Watkins on your list?
I could do that. Yeah, I mean, I could get Watkins. I could get Solanke. I could do that. Yeah, legit. And upgrade Saka to Salah. It's not a bad transfer.
Don't mind that.
It's a tough one. I mean, obviously, like Everton on paper looks like a good opponent, doesn't it, for Aston Villa? I mean, they've been a team that have been very leaky. They they played really well against Bournemouth. Like, I can't overlook the fact that they played really well for 80 minutes, but they did then concede 3 goals in the last 7 minutes. So, and there's also that first game of the season they played really well for 20 minutes, but then it disappeared. So there's something there for Everton. But obviously the potential that is also there for them to get absolutely walloped. And Sean Dyche is entering such a key period now. Like, he can't afford to get smashed here. Like, he genuinely will be out of a job within the next month or so if Everton keep losing. And so that's Yeah, I mean, it's a really sticky situation for him. So, yeah, obviously Watkins is somebody that you're going to be looking at there. I mean, he's not having a great season so far, is he, Watkins? I mean, even if you kind of look through the stats of like the guys at the moment who are having the most shots or have had the most shots on target, I mean, Watkins isn't even in those conversations at the moment. But we know that he loves the role. We know that Villa know how to find him. He's been a little bit unlucky too in the early weeks. So I think your faith in him will probably be okay in this fixture.
Braunthwaite is still unavailable, right? If I'm not mistaken.
I think he might be, I think he might be. It might be another Michael Keane masterclass.
Yeah, I mean, as a Rogers owner, Jani as a Watkins owner, I mean, I can see good points for you this week. I'm expecting Villa to win.
I said that last week though against Leicester, but not they both. I got 7 points.
Yeah, but that was a freak occurrence. I mean, if that game was played, let's say 10 times, I am confident that Watkins and Rogers would have gotten points in 8 of them.
This is my moment.
It was a freak occurrence. Yeah.
This is my moment, and I am feeling kind of smug about it. You're right, big man. Not smug, just happy. Like, I can't be smug. I'm at 3 million rank, and the guy is still getting 60 minutes and not producing the points. But I know if Ollie Watkins, and I tweeted this earlier, like if Ollie, I wrote a tweet and then deleted it and reposted something softer. But what I wanted to say was, if Ollie Watkins gets 75 minutes plus, I think he gets a 10-pointer. Like, I can see double digits. Or he blanks and gets 60 minutes, but he will stay on the pitch if he scored a goal or playing well. And I think there's a very good chance if he scores in the first hour, he stays on the pitch and then gets a second return. I'm really hopeful for big points off Ollie Watkins. Let's see.
Yeah, Mark says Villa lack creativity. I will let Bozzy hit back at that and tell us whether that is true or false. I'm not totally convinced by that, to be honest with you. But yeah, let's see him hit back at that one. Before we get onto our teams, we should probably also address the biggest game of the weekend, which is the North London derby. I'll be honest, I think this is an actual real awkward situation for Spurs because Arsenal's B team ain't that bad, right? And if you lose this game and you're like, Arsenal can gloat that they've beaten you with their B team, it's really not a good start to the season for Tottenham. So what do we think, mate? I mean, obviously, Solanke was somebody that you were pinning your hopes on, G, at the start of the season. If Solanke had been playing against Newcastle, then the chances are he'd have bagged a couple of goals and Tottenham would have won the game. What do we see for this game? I mean, Arsenal basically missing their first choice midfield, but still have a pretty decent backup midfield.
Yeah, 2 of the 11 missing, but still, and the away team, but still for me will go in as the favourites. Probably the bookies' favourites, probably most of our favourites. Like, Arsenal replacements are still going to be useful. Will it be Trossard number 9? Will it be Havertz 9? Or will it be Havertz playing the Odegaard role? Yeah, Raheem have an impact off the bench, maybe. Good half an hour. What a way to make your debut that could be. I still fancy Arsenal. I still think a clean sheet is possible. I still think Saka's a great option this week, but I understand why so many have to sell him. But here, Dean, you're talking to a Son seller and an almost guaranteed Saka seller in Big Man. So we're both selling players in a fixture.
Almost guaranteed. Whoa, that's interesting.
You're holding Bruno. You're holding Bruno. I reckon like the points up for grabs in the North London derby for 2 attacking very good players like Son and Saka are still really high. And by no way are we saying Son and Saka are not good picks this week. We're just saying Salah's a better pick. And I guess that's where I'm at. And of course gives us captaincy. But go on, big man. You're going to end up selling Saka, aren't you?
I'm not going to sell Bruno. I mean, that's something, I was never going to do. I think I'm still sort of contemplating 2 options. One is saving the transfer and the other is to sell Saka for Salah. But now that Konza is fit, I'm sure you recall that I had a decent 11 to field this week and next week. So now that Konza is fit, I can sell Porro to Nedeljkovic, and that would fund Saka to Salah. That is a transfer I'm considering, but that would lock me into wildcard 6. That's still something that's playing on my head. But yeah, it's either going to be save or it's either going to be that transfer from me. Those 2 transfers.
Yeah. It's interesting. Go on.
I basically just completely eliminated the idea of selling Bruno or Isak from my mind.
Yeah, interesting. Triple T says you're the GOAT, by the way, mate, so you can't be wrong on that call. Look, I was looking at some stats ahead of this
Thank you
game.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the super chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Son has scored 8 goals against Arsenal in all competitions. Only Harry Kane, Adebayor, and somebody I'd never heard of have scored more than him in North London derby games. Son has got 3 of Tottenham's last 4 league goals against Arsenal last season. And then if you want to flip it onto Saka, well, Saka scored home and away against Tottenham last season. The only Arsenal player to score in 3 consecutive Premier League North London derbies are Adebayor and Robert Pires. So dropping Saka, dropping Son out of your team does come at risk. There's a risk attachment involved to it, no doubt about it. So, yeah, just be wary. It's very easy to jump off of these players in a moment like this. And I think we have to be a little bit cautious. You have to be flipping to a Salah to make that worth it.
Is it too passive not to get Salah? Because this was a question Big Man asked me on Wednesday, Dean. And I must admit, I was like, for me, it's too passive to have an opportunity to get Salah on a free transfer like Big Man's got. So Saka to Salah would be too passive, maybe for me. But I realised that I'm not patient enough a lot of the time. That's one of my biggest flaws when I play FPL. But at the same time, if you hold Saka, are you sleeping on a very good opportunity for a higher ceiling in Mo Salah? I mean, for you, Dean, would you sell Saka to Salah this week, given the choice? I think you would sell Son to Salah, right? Answer both those.
You need Salah. You have to have Salah in this game. What's he got so far? 41 points?
Same as Haaland.
So you've missed out on 41 Salah points.
Dean, the question is not about whether or not he should have him, but it's about whether he is a must-have this week when he's not likely going to be the optimal captain. Because all 3 of us are in consensus when we say that Salah is likely essential in Game Week 5. It's more about this week.
Yeah, I think
still this week.
I think he is. Like, if you can, I don't know. I would take a hit to get him because I don't think that's worth it. But if you can get there on free, well, the thing is, how many points has he now got to get this week to get you back there? That's what I'm trying to think of.
Yeah.
Like, who did you drop? So who did you lose to get Salah?
Son, but I also lost Isak to João Pedro. It was a big hit. Like, that could very
how
much.
many points have you got to get out of your transfers to make up that -4?
Yeah, I need an assist and a bonus point before we've started.
Forest they're still not that bad. Like, actually, Mandra's just said Forest's defense is really underestimated. Nuno team is always good at defending.
It is.
And
yeah, it's not going to be a massacre by any means.
It's not going to be a massacre, no. But they've won all 3 games so far. They haven't conceded a goal. No manager's ever managed to keep 4 clean sheets in a row. Liverpool are absolutely banging, and Salah looks like the old Salah, right? And so the thing is, imagine how you would be feeling going into the game week without Salah. That's how you kind of satisfy yourself with making that choice. Because I think you'll be feeling a lot worse about yourself right now if you didn't have Salah. I think that's the comfort that you need to take. You now know that for these 2 big Liverpool home fixtures that you're covered. You've got him. Yeah. And that you at least can't lose out on any more of those points, like the 17 he got against United, the 14 he got against Ipswich. You're not going to miss those anymore.
Yeah, of course, says I guess Salah's playing for a new contract. I don't even know if he is. I think he's happy going to Saudi. That's just going to be locked in at the end of the season.
Mate, I spoke to someone about this, and they said Salah was always going to wait the start of this season to see what the picture looked like. What is Arne Slot? How's Arne Slot using him? What do Liverpool look like for the future? Why would he have committed to a new contract before the season began, or even in game week 1? He needed to see what was happening, and vice versa. Arne Slot needed to see what Salah is at this stage of his career. And I think that they've probably both discovered that they might need each other, to be honest with you. I half expect Salah to sign an extension at some point this season.
Would that be to protect Liverpool, Dean, so then Saudi Club can come in with a bigger offer? Is that to protect Liverpool, that 2-year extension that's being discussed? Or do you actually think he wants to stay for another 2 years?
Mate, I think they'll see an opportunity, from the early stage of the season, that Liverpool could win the Premier League again. I think if you look at the situation right now, Liverpool will be in the top 3 this season. I think they can, I don't know, they can beat City to the title, but they can make a good run at it. And if they properly progress in the way that seems possible, maybe he can win the Premier League again. And surely that's better than going to Saudi. Look, the Saudi Pro League is desperate to have Mo Salah. Like, he is the perfect icon, perfect poster boy for that league, right? He is, I mean, it's hard for me to say this because I've not actually ever been to Saudi Arabia, but from what people say to me, like, he would be more of an icon for that league than Ronaldo is because of like what he
religion
means to so many people. So even if he's close to being of that status, then I can completely understand why the temptation is there at this stage. But when you see how fit he is, when you see how efficient he is at the moment, to leave Liverpool is a massive, massive call if he's going to be this important to them. And he does look to be that important to them.
Big man, what's your take there on the Salah situation? And if this is his last season at Liverpool, it's extra incentive, but likewise, always playing for a new contract and incentive too.
I mean, he's just playing. He's in the form of his life. I mean, when it comes to FPL, I don't think we should be overthinking it. I agree with Dean, but I think realistically, when you look at different managers, different teams that I've looked at, there are 4 scenarios. There are managers, who've sort of gotten off to a bad start, who don't have any Liverpool in their teams, don't have Brighton in their teams, and for them, it's easy to wildcard, and they're on a wildcard this week. It's fine. The second scenario is for people who have one free transfer in hand. And of course, with one free transfer, I assume it's going to be very difficult to buy Salah. And in that case, you probably save the transfer this week and decide to bring Salah in next week with 2 free transfers in hand and more flexibility. I actually fall in the 4th category. The 3rd category is that you have 2 free transfers, but you don't have João Pedro. So you can sell Isak to João Pedro and upgrade Saka to Salah, which I still think is a easier compromise. And
it probably is.
You're getting 2 good players, right? So it sort of makes sense. I'm actually in the 4th category where I have 2 free transfers, but I don't necessarily have an obvious downgrade to make to get Salah for Saka. So I can get Salah for free, but I'll either have to sell Bruno, either I'll have to sell Isak, or I'll either have to sell Porro. I've dismissed the idea of selling Bruno and Isak because I don't really like the alternatives available. So it comes down to selling Porro, who I won't be playing this week anyway. So essentially, I'm missing out on one good fixture from him next week. And I think probably getting Salah over Salah this week is a better sort of compromise or a better sort of game to target as opposed to owning someone like a Porro over Konsa next week. So I'm sort of leaning towards making those 2 transfers, but that would mean that I lock myself into wildcard 6, which I'm still thinking about.
Well, let's see your team, big man, because this makes complete sense to me because I know your team off the back of my hand. And look, many of our viewers will as well. But guys, there's over 300 of you watching. Do hit that like button if you want to support the channel. Also, don't forget, because so many do, and they think they're already... Just check you're subscribed. If you're not subscribed, or if you think you are, there's a good chance you're not. And even if you are, you can hit that notification bell. But please do support CGA. We want to do these streams regularly, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. You're subscribed to really help us out. So, big man, this is what you're talking about. This is your bus team. The Konsa news today is massive because that might just protect you a little bit further in terms of a transfer waiting to happen, or a transfer you might needed to have made this week. So, describe why, and tell us why on that front.
Because if Konsa had been unfit, then I wouldn't have had the luxury of selling Porro to Nedeljkovic, right? Because then I need a 3rd playable defender. But Dunk, Konsa, Trent sort of cover me well for the next 2 weeks if I am to wildcard in 6. So I can just effectively accept or just come to peace with the fact that I'm going to have a very weak bench for the next 2 weeks. And then I can just wildcard my way out of this team and give week 6.
Yeah, okay. And the moves you're thinking of making?
Yeah, so it's either a save or it's either Porro to Nedeljkovic and Saka to Salah for 2 frees. I'm curious to hear your thoughts, Gianni, and your thoughts, Dean, as well, as to which way you would go.
Dean, what's your...
Go
on. So Porro to Nedeljkovic would be one move and then Saka to Salah. Or he doesn't make any moves and rolls.
Yeah.
I think you're going to go to Salah. I think it's fine to do that. I think that Porro at this stage is actually okay to lose. I think that transfer is actually okay.
You reckon?
Yeah, I actually...
Even with Brentford next week and the amount of shots he's taken. Because it's so dangerous selling Porro.
Yeah, but is it that dangerous?
We'll do a poll. What should big man do? Make those 2 transfers or roll?
Yeah.
Sorry, Dean. Carry on.
Yeah, but I just
That would
don't
be very
think.
helpful.
Yeah, I don't think losing Porro is going to have a drastic impact on your season over the next couple of game weeks compared to, not making this Salah move right now. I think that's the way you have to weigh it up. Brian says Salah next 2 better than Saka. I just think that like, what realistically is Porro getting from this next game week? Like what we know traditionally from this North London derby is actually pretty high scoring. Both teams tend to score in this fixture. So history tells us that he's not going to keep a clean sheet. Okay, he might get an assist, but even a goal's unlikely. Assist, okay, potential. So for this particular game week, not fast. Even Brentford at home, right? Given what we've seen from Tottenham so far this season, I think Brentford go to Tottenham and score. I definitely think Brentford go to Tottenham and score. And so you're again.
Yeah, it is at Spurs. Yeah, okay. You still back them as the away team. Yeah,
I still back them, mate. Yeah, I still back them. And Tottenham are supposed to be defensively resolute, and they're supposed if Van der Ven's back and they've got him and Romero and Vicario, and they should be good at the back, but they switch off, and we've seen that they are inconsistent, not just game to game, but even across 90 minutes. And Brentford are the perfect team to read those situations and capitalise on them. So while it looks good, 2 home fixtures, they're 2 London derbies, they're 2 games Tottenham could potentially lose. Like genuinely, I think they could potentially lose both of these fixtures. Tottenham fans are going to hate me, and I'm honestly not hating on Tottenham here. I'm just trying to look at a wider picture whereby Porro for these next couple of game weeks just doesn't feel like me as a must own.
Yeah, the chat seems to agree. Go on, big man.
Gianni, I just like to add, that hypothetically speaking, now, let's say if I make those 2 transfers, my plan would be to save next week, right? So that I can sort of head into the wildcard with the free save transfer. So when you compare it, it's basically the choice of picking Salah over Saka as opposed to picking Konsa over Porro next week. And surely Salah over Saka is a better way to gain points as opposed to Porro over Konsa. That's the way I'm thinking. And I love Porro as a pick. I think it's very likely that I pick him on wildcard as well. In fact, if I was wildcarding this week, I would still have him. But in my scenario, I'm not playing him this week, irrespective of what happens. I'm essentially just losing him for 1 week. I mean, it's not the end of the world. And Brentford, it's not as if Spurs are playing, let's say, Southampton or someone of that sort, right? It's still probably back Brentford to score.
Aston Villa Bozzy said, what would I do? Just checking, big man. Do you have the money to go Bruno to Salah? I know you got 1.5 in the bank, and Porro down to 4 million. Is that possible? No, that's not possible.
At all.
Okay, damn. That's what I would do. So I can't do that. So I guess I'd sell Saka. And I'd sell Porro. The Isak downgrade is something I'd be happy enough with, but only if you've got Pedro Porro to go down to. And big man's already got João Pedro. So yeah, I think I would make those 2 moves that's being suggested. And the chat are pretty clear in the fact they would make those 2 moves. I think we're at 63%. Okay, it's not a foregone conclusion there, but 36% would roll. So yeah, I guess for you, big man, the idea of rolling, the benefit is, sure, you miss out on some Salah points now, but if you roll this week, you still get Salah next week, and you save that wild card in 6.
Yeah, someone is asking in the chat if I need Nedeljkovic to play. No, I mean, I'll just have him on the bench. So that's why I'm sort of at peace with it. Gianni, I mean, while we were recording on Wednesday, both of us actually seemed fairly in consensus to save the transfer this week. But now, as time has gone on, the deadline is drawing closer. We're sort of trying to be more aggressive. To be fair, you did mention that saving would be passive. I said if it was me, I'd make the transfer on Wednesday, because I remember saying I was like this. But I appreciate it's my biggest flaw is I can be not patient enough. So I think on Wednesday I was still of the mindset you should get Salah in, because you mentioned captaincy, and rightly so. You're not captain Salah. Do you need him? But my point was, if you're going to get him in game week 5 anyway, you're missing out on a potential haul in 4, captaincy or not.
if you see him in your 5 team, get him in your 4 team.
I think a very important point that we sort of need to sort of discuss very briefly is that the whole premise of making these 2 transfers is based on the idea of wildcard in game week 6. So does my team need a wildcard in game week 6? That's the main thing, because if
No.
it doesn't, then these 2 moves do not make sense.
I don't think it does, because you've got free transfers in the bank. Your bench isn't great, but it's fine. Like, Kwanzaa could become an option for some midweek fixtures in the Champions League. Is Kanate going to play 3 games in 8 days consistently? I'm not sure he is. So Kwanzaa's not a bad player. The other 4 defenders you've got are all great. You've got Eze in place. Yeah, you don't have any Brentford players, but you've got Saka in place. I don't actually think you do need a wild card.
My counter to that would be that, yes, I have Saka right now, but he won't be there because I'll want Salah, right? So judging by how my team would look at the end of game week 5, I think that there's a good chance that I might want to wildcard it by the start of game week 6, because I don't have any Arsenal. I won't have any Arsenal at that point.
Yeah.
I would want triple Arsenal from game week 6. I won't have any Brentford. I would want at least double Brentford, if not 3 from game week 6. And even the likes of João Pedro won't have as good fixtures as they have right now. I don't think I'd pick Isak on wildcard. I'm not even sure Rodgers would sort of keep his place going forward, and the fixtures won't be as good as well. So I'm pretty sure that if I wildcard in 6, and when I sort of compare it with my game week 5 team, I would end up making at least 8 to 9 changes.
Fair. Dean, what's your take there?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it necessarily needs the wild card game week 6. I know that people are more inclined to wild card earlier this season, and it's less of a big deal. So I think you can, but I don't think you're really going to need it, mate, to be totally honest with you. Like, there's also a chance between now and then that a couple of these players give you something new to think about, and actually start to find some form, because you're not that far away here from a very good team. Like, there's just like, Bruno bangs this weekend. If Rodgers starts to show some of the returns as well, you've already got João Pedro, who you love. Isak, I think, is on the verge of... Like, it's a good team. And so it's really just missing Salah to give you the kind of underlying control that you want over your emotions, I guess, for these next couple of game weeks. And then you just need to figure out the Arsenal guys for game week 6 and game week 7, because you would want more than one. But yeah, I don't think you really need that wild card as it stands.
Oh, it's going to be an interesting one, big man. If you were to put a percentage on it, we'll move to my team in a sec, Dean's team in a sec. Guys, there's nearly 400 of you watching. Hit that like button for us. That'd be amazing. And subscribe to CGA. If you were to put a percentage on it, does Saka become Salah in game week 4? Where are you at?
I think there's a 60% chance I make the double move that I suggested, and there's a 40% chance that I save. I don't think I'm going to do anything apart from this.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, nice. There has been a suggestion in the chat, I think, from Michael, and this was something I mentioned on Wednesday. I like this idea, but I don't want to convince you or try and sell it. But you could keep Pedro Porro and actually downgrade Isak. So could you go Isak down to Welbeck and then Welbeck into Visser in a few weeks? Could be fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I did consider, but I'm sort of still uncomfortable with the idea of losing Isak, as mentioned earlier. I still think 90-minute man, I'm expecting some returns from him in the next 2 weeks. Sure, Welbeck can return as well, but he does not necessarily still inspire me with the same confidence when it comes to his minutes.
Yeah, okay. Fair. Yeah, I think he's going to be early subbed a lot. And for the next 2, the fixtures are there, but you'd want to sell him eventually when he loses his spot as well. All right, good stuff, big man. We're looking forward to your input on our teams as well. Let's move on to our teams. We'll take some questions before the end of the show. If you're a channel member, you'll notice we flash up all our channel members' comments. Sometimes they're questions we can't answer, but just to involve you in the show, that is a benefit of being a member. And you can check that out by hitting the join button below. And then any of your questions we'll come back to later in the show, unless it's topical, and then we'll address them there and then. Thoughts on my team, Dean? I'll come to you first. I've done a 4-point hit already. Son to Salah, Isak to João Pedro. This is currently on a -4. I know that's not great. If I have any fires to put out, further fires, and I know starting Ben Johnson is far from optimal, but let's say we hear Jota doesn't start or Haaland doesn't start, or Watkins doesn't start, then maybe I actually pull that wildcard trigger. What I'm not willing to do is go in with another player in this 11 that I know isn't starting, because effectively I'm playing with 10 men this week. even on a hit.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So you will be left with a dilemma in either of those situations. But as it stands, if that doesn't happen, and I don't expect that to be the case particularly, I think you're fine. You know, Johnson's obviously like there's potential you're playing with 10 men here. I think you will need to move on from Henderson in goal soon, but for this week, you're kind of stuck with him. And fortunately, they've got Leicester at home, so there's a chance that you're okay. I mean, Palace, I would be a little wary still of Crystal Palace. I mean, there are so many goals in Crystal Palace matches. You barely ever get a 0-0 Palace game. And I think at Selhurst Park, particular, they've been like, I don't know if it's more goals than at any other stadium across this year, but like there's a lot of goals in games at Selhurst Park. So you want to hope that they're going into the other goal rather than Crystal Palace's goal this weekend. But I think the team in itself, mate, is fine. Gordon, I'm a little bit torn on at the moment. I'm not sure that he is even better than Harvey Barnes at the moment as an asset, to be honest with you. But he should be. So this should be a good pick. But I've been watching Newcastle and I'm like, is Harvey Barnes more dangerous?
Well, he's playing on the left, which is a big problem for Gordon because Gordon's not the same player on the right. So we want to see Gordon on the left. And I did see a quote today from Eddie Howe. Newcastle tweeted this. Anthony's in a great place after 2 England games. I thought he played really well. I know how proud he is to play for his country. So those 2 games would have meant a lot to him. He's come back in a great place. And I just wonder.
For England?
Yeah, he was on the left for England. But Barnes could be moved onto the right. And look, Murphy came on and played really well in game week 3. So we could see Murphy start on the right and Gordon on the left. Like, I love the fact I've got Gordon as a bit of a differential now, knowing so many have Isak too. I've got a bit of cover there. And I think Gordon's not far from Isak in terms of good FPL option. What do we make of Diogo Jota? Dean, I'll come to you still on this. And then, Big Man, I want all your thoughts. But Jota was called up for Portugal, did play. He's been playing all right, but he's going to start in the Champions League, you'd expect. There's going to be some rotation between Gakpo on the left instead of Diaz at times, and Jota and Darwin rotating as the number 9. At the moment, it's Jota's shirt to lose, but he ain't going to start every game. And Darwin wasn't called up for Uruguay. Sorry, didn't play for Uruguay because he's suspended. So Darwin's been around Arne Slot for the last 10 days. Could we see a shock Darwin start and Jota benched, or is that too far at the moment? Do we wait for the Champions League to kick in for that to happen?
Yeah, I can't see it, mate. I don't know if you know about Jota's record against Nottingham Forest, but it is very good. No. Jota's record against Nottingham Forest, he's got 6 goals in 5 appearances against Forest, and he's scored in all 3 games that he's played for Liverpool against Forest. He's got 4 goals in 3 games against Nottingham Forest. So this is a team he likes to victimise. He likes to take out his anger against this team, and he's good against them. And that counts for a lot for players. Like, they have memory. They have muscle memory, if you like, when it comes to who they are successful against. And for Jota, loves playing against Nottingham Forest. So I think that while it's been disappointing so far in terms of not being involved in the output when Liverpool have had big moments, that's not going to continue. Gunner24 says Jota will haul very soon. There are 2 games, mate, where it's unthinkable that Jota's not about to return against Nottingham Forest and Bournemouth. Like, it's unthinkable.
Big Man, you don't own Jota. I'm asking these questions a lot of time from a devil's advocate perspective. Like Aston Villa Bozzy, I know Jota's solid. I've been one of his biggest cheerleaders since he's been at Liverpool. I've owned him a ton. And he was a lock for me game week 1. I'm not selling him. If I was on wildcard, though, I would have Robertson and Trent with Salah because I do think we'll see some Jota rotation. Your take on Jota, Big Man, moving forward?
I think he should play this week. He's a bit of a risk going forward with the Champions League coming into play. But I think, presumably looking at your team, Johnny, I think you'll probably have to wildcard by 6 as well. And till that period, I think your team is fine.
That's
and
my
I think
plan.
Jota is actually, he's kind of ideal for that period with the 2 home fixtures that Liverpool have coming up.
We'll do a poll, should Gianni wildcard? Because there's a ton telling me my team's rubbish and I need to wildcard, but I'm sure there's a ton watching going, no, you absolutely don't. My plan is to wildcard in 6 anyway. If I was to wildcard, let me tell you some players that I will not own this game week. I wouldn't own Henderson. Well, he's got a good fixture this game week. I wouldn't own Robinson. Well, he's got a good fixture. I wouldn't own Gordon or Jota. And I wouldn't own Ollie Watkins. I wouldn't own 5 very good assets that I like for game week 4 if I hit that wildcard button right now. That is why I have been holding out so much on the Ollie Watkins news and why I might have to react to Haaland news. But I really, really think this team is good for the next 2 weeks. But absolutely, by game week 6, it's going to need changes. We'll do a poll, and before we move on to Dean's team, just to see, it would probably be an even split. I've had a ton of comments this week saying I should wildcard, which is absolutely fair game. Like, there's no right and wrong answer here. But yeah, Ben Johnson's a weak link, but I'm okay having 1 point from one of my players and hopefully good points from a load of others.
Your whole team's never going to bang, right? So it doesn't really.
You'll have a 1 pointer regardless. Yeah,
it's quite nice to go into a game expecting a 1 pointer sometimes, mate. If he gets 2, it's a bonus point.
Do we start Johnson or Lewis Hall, guys? What's your take there? Lewis Hall probably isn't starting left back. Cher is back. It'll be Cher, Burn, and probably Lloyd Kelly for an away game, you'd have thought, against Wolves. He's been playing well, Lloyd Kelly. So do I risk Johnson, who again isn't guaranteed to start, but in the only away game Ipswich have played this season, he got the assist against City and started in what was a back 5. Usually it's a back 4. It's been a back 4 at home. Tuanzebe right back. Away, I'm hoping Tuanzebe right centre back, Johnson right wing back.
Yeah, I think.
If you expect him to start, then play Johnson. But if you think that both Hall and Johnson carry the same or similar risk, then pick Hall because he's playing for a better defense.
Dean, you reckon the same? Like, pick based on minutes. If you think Johnson gets more minutes, go with him. That's kind of what I'm doing. Or if you think both are benched, you pick the better player, of course, and that is Lewis Hall.
The thing is, right, is Hall going to come on as sub?
Yeah, he comes on a lot.
Okay, so then you start with Johnson, yeah. Because I was going to say otherwise, if he's not going to get, I haven't followed his minutes enough to know whether he's been coming on. In that case, start with Johnson.
He comes on with 20 to go in the last couple. Johnson in the games he's not started. I think, or game week 3 he didn't start. He didn't come on at all, and they used 5 subs. So again, there's the hope if Johnson is dropped, he doesn't even come on. We will see if we can do that poll, should Gianni wildcard, because I really want to know the answer. So we'll see if we can get that up. If we can't, we'll move on to Dean's team. But we'll get that poll up in just a sec, and then we'll move on to Dean's team. I don't know if there's actually much to discuss on my team. Maybe we move to yours now, Dean. I think we're all out on me. Let's get to our highest ranked player.
Yeah, let's get on to it. 47k. Will I ever say that again? Let's see. Look, I'm still hopeful, and even with the mighty Calvert-Lewin, I found some room for optimism again. I've found more room for optimism on Calvert-Lewin because I've discovered that he's either scored or assisted in 7 of Everton's last 12 league goals. He's scored 5 of the last 12, and he's assisted 2 more of those last 12 goals. And he actually, in the last game where he scored, could have actually had 2. Calvert-Lewin is sticking in this team, and look at his fixtures, lads. Aston Villa away. Okay, I'll be honest, I'm not really expecting a return this week, but Leicester at home, Crystal Palace at home. That's why Calvert-Lewin's hanging around for these 3 games. Eze is my transfer in this week. RIP Morgan Gibbs-White. Thank you for your service, sir, across the first 3 game weeks. Not sure if I'll see you again, but getting Eze into this team, too good to turn down.
I like that transfer. Great transfer.
You've got to be playing very high standard to get into this team, I'll tell you that. And Eze absolutely deserves the call-up. So I'm expecting big things from Eze this week. Not just because he's been really good so far, but of course, Eddie Nketiah now coming into the picture as well at Crystal Palace. I'm told he'll probably be subbed this game week, Eddie Nketiah, but he will get minutes. And from someone I was talking to at Palace, they were like, Eze's been missing someone on his wavelength. He's been missing somebody that can either help him get a goal or actually finish off some of the chances that he's teeing up. Now, it might be that Eddie Nketiah doesn't play as the 9 when he comes in. He might play alongside Eze as one of the support forwards. But either way, I think Eze is going to hit a new level with having somebody more of his caliber around him. Those two apparently get on really well as well. Eze's been unlucky so far. Big man's had him obviously since the start and has been ruining his missed chances, his woodworks, and the fact that nobody's been able to get on the end of his balls across the 6-yard box. I think that might change. Leicester, a great opponent for Eze, so I just couldn't overlook that transfer. Anthony Robinson actually missed USA's game in midweek. And there are rumours of an ongoing injury problem with Anthony Robinson. Now,
where's that wildcard button?
I think he's okay. I think he was rested as a precaution, but he did go out to America. he was out there and he just didn't play.
Visiting a girlfriend?
Hopefully, maybe he just went on holiday. Maybe it was just convenient.
It's a cool place to visit. FPL fellas tuning in from Florida right now, you know.
Look, USA is great, but they had a really disappointing international break. They lost to Canada, and Anthony Robinson didn't play. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. I think, and I'm told, it's okay. He's going to be playing, but I hope that that's right. I really hope that that's right, because I have no backup. Mosquera, I mean, he's flagged. I don't know what's actually about there. He scored during the international break, actually. So I was hopeful I was getting a decent defensive asset on my bench there, but now he's flagged. Poch's appointment, they can't be any worse. US are in a really bad moment. They need to pick me up, and Poch needs to provide that. I mean, everyone in that team should be able to level up, and I hope it helps players like Robinson do that. Hendra says, good punt and Ketia at 5.9. Marcus Silva said everyone is okay. Yeah, Marcus Silva doesn't always tell the truth, mate. But I do think that this is okay. I like him. I'm sorry to scare you there, G, but I'm just aware that Anthony Robinson does have an ongoing issue. And when he didn't play an international break, I was like, uh-oh. But then maybe he just had 2 weeks.
Maybe he just wanted to meet Poch. We wanted to meet Poch, so he travelled and, he needed a bit of a break.
Well, Poch wasn't there. That's the problem.
Was Poch not there? They didn't meet?
No. They didn't. He's only done his first presser today, Pochettino.
I didn't know that.
Poch was not involved in this international break, and USA were absolutely abysmal. No fans turned up for the game. They lost 2-0 to Canada. They played as well the other day. I can't remember the score. But yeah, anyway. So Rico Lewis keeps his place for the 4th game week in a row. Could turn out to be my best pick from pre-season. Still going strong, and I don't see him being replaced right now. Pedro Porro is still in there. I'm expecting great things from him this week. And yeah, Isak. I think honestly that Isak is still worth persisting with. I know that a lot of people have either got rid of him. I haven't checked how many people have dropped off him recently.
Yeah, he started the season about 55. He's now around 40.
55. So, okay.
Yeah,
so
quite a lot.
That is quite a big drop off. Look.
Yeah, loads have jumped on Pedro.
Isak directly involved in 18 goals in his last 20 Premier League appearances, and 15 of them were goals. I'm telling you, like, Isak is such a danger still. And he's, as I keep saying, he's been so frustrated that these passes just haven't been made. Like, he's waiting for it. He's on the last man's shoulder, and they haven't been threading through the balls. I think it's going to change. I think Wolves are a team that could be very vulnerable. If Chelsea can score 6 against him, then Isak can score 6 against him. I'll tell you that much. So yeah, I'm hoping that Isak bangs this week. I've actually got quite a lot of optimism about 6 of my front 7 banging.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to get a new thumbnail, Dean top 10K. I think we might be seeing that next week. I mean, big man, this is a good-looking team that, again, when we look ahead at our wild cards, we're thinking 6, and arguably this doesn't look like a game week 6 wild card team. Like, it's not big on Arsenal or teams like Brentford, but actually everything's going right for Dean at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, especially if he can save next week, then with 2 free transfers, he can possibly bring in an Arsenal defender in game week 6, and this team won't necessarily require a wild card either. So yeah, the team looks good. It's 2 or 3 injuries away from potentially needing a wild card because of the thin bench. But I guess that's the risk you run. That's the risk you run.
Yeah, absolutely is. Yeah, I mean, you know, obviously when I saw the Mosquera is fit, so that's good. But yeah, it's not deep. This team is not deep, but that's fine because I've got chips I can use, and if I had to take a -4 at this point, I'd actually be reasonably comfortable with doing that. So that's quite a nice situation to be in. And yeah, Nick Pope, I tell you what, like, I've been really pleased. That was a weird decision that I made. I didn't really put that much thought into it. I just didn't trust the 4.5s and the 4s and this thing that everybody was going for coming into the season. And so I looked at what Newcastle had, and I thought, you know what, David Raya really helped me out at the end of last season by just having a trusted, actual good goalkeeper. I really felt the benefits of that. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to get in a half-decent goalkeeper. And Nick Pope so far has done a decent job. And actually, all of the elite goalkeepers are actually having pretty good seasons, aren't they, in this game? So, yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see if that continues. Obviously, Wolves, I'm hopeful of a clean sheet. Yeah, I like that. Joseph, we're all scared to give Dean stick for DCL. I love a rogue pick here and there, and DCL is my rogue pick, and he's in it for another 3 game week. So let's see how it goes.
We've got good stuff, Dean. I'm loving that. Look at that team. We'll move on, guys. We've got 2 minutes left of the show. We're going to do some quick fire questions. And when I say quick fire, we're going to get through like 10 in the next 2 minutes. So we're going to alternate. We're going to go me, Dean, Big Man in that order. The same order as on screen, that way. So, Always, congrats. Well, not congrats, just thank you for watching live. I would start Rodgers over Muniz, I think, which I know is controversial. Oh, nice. Okay, on to Dean's question. Good one, mate. Hit those buttons when you're at it, team.
Dean, are you doing Saka to Palmer, Son, or Jota in game week 5? In game week 5, Palmer probably. I'm probably going to try to get to Palmer.
Michael Scott is asking if Haaland doesn't play, who to put first on bench between Wood, Gabriel Johnson. I would put Wood first on the bench still, simply because he can still get an attacking return, or he might still start.
There we go. Nice one. Double pivot, quick fire. Fletch.
It was definitely Darren Fletcher. Darren Fletcher was elite, mate. He was a proper baller. Scott McTominay is a very good player, but Darren Fletcher was next level up from that. Madueke or Jackson? What is this for? Like, this can't be for FPL.
It must be. They got good.
I'm joking. I'm just winding you up. I'm winding you up. Oh, mate. I'd probably say Jackson, just because I'm not sure about Madueke's minutes, because they've got so many players that can take his role.
Yeah, fair. One for you, big man.
Start 2 of Porro, Konza, and Robinson. Stuck here. I would go with Porro and Konza. Konza, I think, is clear because of the superior clean sheet chances, and Porro, I think, is better than Robinson because of his attacking potential. I expect both Porro and Robinson to concede.
Very nice. Salah. We'll do 2 more.
Oh, I mean, that's
This is
not
for
even
Dean.
How's that the same dilemma? I mean, it's Trent in. If that's your actual dilemma, then you got.
Are we talking FPL? Is this the same game? Nathan, come on. Trent's the best player in the game.
Final question: Leif Davis is a wildcard option. I don't hate him. I don't hate the idea of picking him as an option. I think he's a solid option. It's just that I don't trust Ipswich for clean sheets, so I would rather go with a Villa defender or a Brighton defender as my preference.
Yeah.
There we go. Double Pivot said, let's get 50 likes before the end of the show. Surely.
We've not got 50 likes.
No, you need to refresh. No, we need to refresh. But I mean, we would love 150, so do hit the button.
Yeah, I'm going to say.
If you're watching on catch up, thank you for always watching on catch up. If you ever want to drop by for a live, then do. But we appreciate all of our catch up views as well. And we are replying to all the comments. I think I can't check because I can't watch our videos because my cookies and cache and all that is over the place on my laptop. But I'm pretty sure we're replying to comments. So drop your question in the comments and we will get back to you. We'll be back on Monday for another stream. We'll be back on Wednesday next week, Friday next week. CGA should be your home of FPL. So make sure you're subscribing to the channel. Big man, good luck with your big decision this week. Dean, good luck with your pursuit of the top 10K, which I've no doubt you'll be in very, very soon. And for me, I hope I don't have to wildcard. Let's see. Guys, thank you as always for joining us. Thank you for watching. We'll see you on Monday. Good luck this game week. Bye-bye.